in any of the buildings, but we are still allowed to take a walk through if we want to occasionally. From Minneapolis, excellent, welcome. Why don't we get started, Andreas? I think we're probably at a good point for that, huh?
Awesome, yeah, for sure. Welcome again. Thank you for everyone attending today's Frontiers for Credit information session. Just some Zoom housekeeping tips for you all. We'd like to welcome you again. Like Sue mentioned earlier on, we're about 20-minute, we're looking at a 20-minute time frame for our presentation with a Q&A to follow. The Q&A conversation will be led by none other than Sue, the director of our office. We instruct folks to type in their questions in the chat or Q&A feature that's found below in the Zoom toolbar. And then for everyone to notice, all content that is referenced in this webinar is also available online on our website. You can access our website at wpi.edu/+frontiers. So those are just some quick housekeeping tips for you. My name is Andreas Armenis. I am the Assistant Director of Pre-College Programs. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm super excited to welcome you all today. But right now, I'd like to give the floor to the big boss, the one, the only, the director of our office, Sue.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for that nice introduction, Andreas. I am so excited to have you all joining us here for this webinar for the Frontiers for Credit program at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I always have to make sure folks know how to say Worcester, right? If you're not from New England. So I am Sue Sonkrath, as Andreas said, and I'm the Director of Pre-Collegiate Outreach Programs here at WPI. And I'm really excited to share with you today our re-envisioned Frontiers program for summer 2020. We're really pleased to be able to offer you all this opportunity to engage with WPI faculty, students, and staff this summer. One of the cool things is that you're going to be able to learn in regular WPI undergraduate classes while you're meeting peers with similar interests from, as you can see from the chat, across the country and around the world. So that's pretty exciting. And you know, I just want to acknowledge that this may not be the on-campus summer experience that some of us had hoped for. We all like to have the students on campus and are sad that we can't do that this year. But we really hope that we're going to be able to bring most of the spirit of WPI to you, the sense of community that we have through our virtual program. I myself am a WPI parent and a WPI alumna. And I'm really excited that you have an opportunity to explore our campus more intensely this summer. And through this online experience, get to know our students, get to know our faculty and staff. So I'm gonna stop there and let you know what it's all about by turning things back over to Andreas, who's gonna share a bit more about the program. And then I will be back afterwards to answer some questions. Thanks so much.
Awesome, Sue, thank you. So a little bit about today's agenda. We're going to go over about the program, about Frontiers for Credit. We'll talk a little bit about how that works. I know Sue mentioned it a little bit, but we'll dive deep into details. We'll talk a little bit about the courses that are offered throughout Frontiers for Credit and how those courses work. We'll also mention some of the wraparound services that really add to our program and are free of cost. Some of those wraparound services are academic support, college access and readiness, as well as student engagement pieces. So we look forward to diving into those, and then we'll leave the floor up to you all to ask any questions that you might have regarding the information shared today or about the program. So about Frontiers for Credit. So Frontiers for Credit is designed for high-achieving high school students who are interested in earning college credit and experiencing an academically fulfilling WPI college course. So at a glance, this program is 5 weeks long. Students have the ability to earn college credits. These courses are offered in an asynchronous manner, so that means you can take them truly from any time zone, unless otherwise noted by a faculty member. You will also gain access to some of the complimentary wraparound services that we'll dive deeper into. And then per any of our pre-college programs, you have the ability to build relationships with current WPI faculty, staff, and undergraduate students. Students that are going to be taking Frontiers for Credit courses are going to be in courses alongside current WPI undergraduates, as well as other high achieving high school students from around the world. And then first and foremost, I shared this with Sue earlier on. One of my favorite parts of hosting webinars is getting to see where folks are tuning in from and joining. We have folks quite literally from around the globe joining us today for today's information session, and also our programs throughout the summer. So you have the ability to connect with all those students and get to make connections with them and foster relationships with them throughout the summer. So it's hands down one of my favorite experiences and parts of our programs, and I hope that you enjoy it too. So that's a little bit about the program overall in an overarching sense. So how does Frontiers for Credit work? Frontiers for Credit will take place July 13th to August 14th during WPI's online summer session 2. Students will register for a WPI online course of their choosing. Students will be taking WPI undergraduate courses alongside other high school students and current undergrads. And then students will also gain access to those wraparound services that we talked about. In total, the course costs around $2,148, which includes the free wraparound services. These services are intentionally free for students because we understand that we want you to be the most successful that you can be in your WPI undergraduate course. And we understand that pivoting to an online learning environment can be challenging for some folks. We understand that we're here to support you, and we hope that you take the most out of your experience. So we look forward to delivering these services alongside the courses this summer to you. So that's a little overarching about how it all works. Let's dive deeper into the courses. So many of you might have perused this on our Frontiers website, but we have a list of compiled suggested courses for you all to take for Frontiers for Credit. Those courses range from calculus to intro to biotechnology, to intro to robotics, to intro to material science, and the list goes on and on and on. We have a variety of different STEM offerings that are suggested for high school students for them to be successful, but we also have a variety of humanities and arts courses that are available for you to take advantage of this summer. A list of additional offerings are all available online. And a lot of our tracks, especially our intro to robotics tracks, tend to be super popular. So our hope is to fill up all of our sessions for each of our courses, and some of our courses have already filled up, and we're moving to second offerings. So for a list of full detail of those courses, check out online. But about the courses, right? So a little bit about the academic overview. A typical WPI summer course is about 28 to 38 hours of class time throughout the 5 weeks, with about 10 to 15 hours of homework time per week. Our students are going to be successful, and we're hoping for them to be the most successful due to the wraparound services that we have in place. Each of those courses are structured differently. They are a variety of lectures, could be group work or hands-on work that happens virtually, but all components will be offered in a virtual setting. And students are going to be instructed by each faculty member on how to exercise any kind of course content that is related to that subject. So a little bit about the wraparound services that we keep mentioning. So in regards to academic support, our hope is to ensure that students are the most successful in their online learning environment. Students at the start of Frontiers for Credit will be placed in virtual herds. Herds are a nice term for our ode to our Gompy, our mascot, who's a goat. These herds are made up of high school students, and they're going to be led by online program assistants. Online program assistants are current undergraduate students that have taken similar courses to many of the courses that are offered throughout Frontiers for Credit. Our students are going to be hosting a variety of different tutoring services, including homework hangouts, academic peer mentorship opportunities for students to take advantage of, and all students will have the ability to do drop-in tutoring sessions with their online program assistants. All of these are intentionally offered for us to make sure that we we ensure that a student's transition to online learning is seamless and and all the information retained within the course is delivered in an effective manner. So moving forward to a little bit about the college access and readiness resources. Intentionally, we are offering these resources to students because our hope is for students to gain the most out of their online experience. We understand that right now it's a super challenging time with everything given with our current public health climate. Our hope is to offer a variety of different career exploration workshops to help gain an understanding of where you might want to apply a major to, a resume workshop to help build that resume, as well as a college planning night for students and families so that you can, as you begin to start to think about your college journey, have the right resources and know the right steps in place for you to be able to handle an admission session, whether it be at WPI or at a different institution, and understand sort of the ins and outs of the college search process. We're also excited to offer our very own WPI Admissions 101 sessions, as well as our very own WPI admissions interviews. And those are all going to be hosted by our admissions counselors with each student that is interested in taking advantage of those opportunities. So a little bit more about the wraparound services. So one of the best things about our pre-college programs is the community that we build on campus. We're looking to deliver that same community feel online in our virtual campus. There's a variety of different student engagement opportunities, and these will culminate in a variety of different programs for students to opt into. These social programs will allow you to build relationships with other high school students that are interested in the programs, as well as build connections with current undergraduate students at WPI. So some of those programs include dinner with our very own Dean of Undergraduate Enrollment Services, as well as e-gaming nights, Netflix watch parties, TikTok challenges, although I'm not that good at TikTok. I know a lot of you might be, as well as some Minecraft and Dungeons of Dragons programs. So the list honestly goes on and on. Additionally, we're excited to offer potential virtual community service opportunities for students to take advantage of to help with some of those community service hours that a lot of you have to take care of, as well as have the ability for you all to continue to maintain connection within your herd groups and do fun and intentional team builders and activities with your herd groups. So this is one of the most exciting features of our pre-college program because it allows us to bring the same community that we're known for throughout the summer in a virtual setting to you all. So what does a day in the life look like of a Frontier student? So this is a typical schedule of how sort of your day-to-day will look like. Please note that the times listed here are based on Eastern time zone. So around 8:30 to 10, you will learn and review your course content. About 10:30 to 11, you will have different drop-in tutoring sessions and homework hangouts with online program assistants. We also would like to mention that those drop-in tutoring sessions and those homework hangouts are not going to happen at one specific time, Eastern time. Throughout the week, we're offering a variety of different times because we understand that folks are tuning in from different time zones. So we want to make sure that although it might be 5 p.m. on our end or on Eastern time, it might very much be the morning for some folks that are tuning in from abroad or from other parts of the world. So making sure that we offer at inclusive time zones is one of our #1 priorities. And then you're going to break into potential lab work or project work or teamwork within your dedicated course. And then we'll give you some time to rest and recharge and break away a little bit from the screen. Part of the rest and recharge activities that we're looking to host is with our online program assistants, doing a bunch of different wellness activities with you all. So we're super excited about that. As well as a time for you all to connect within your herds and with your online program assistants, who will really truly serve as mentors for you throughout this summer. And then a couple of examples of potential social activities that we'll have later on in the evening are dinner with our dean and or our Minecraft community connection with the virtual activity with Minecraft. So that's sort of a snapshot of how a day in the life of a Frontier student might look like. So I know that I went through a lot of information all at once. So I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of questions. I see the Q&A chat go in here, as well as the chat feature. If you have any question about the information shared or any questions about Frontiers in general, please drop those questions below in the chat or Q&A box. Right. And
So I
Sue,
know that I'm going to jump in and answer a question while you're taking a peek there. What's there? Because I did see one come in very early on that I wanted to address. And that is our, in my opinion, somewhat confusing course credit system at WPI. So because we take 3 courses a term, the courses are referred to as 1/3 of a credit. And that is very confusing to folks because the rest of the world operates on a 3-credit system. So at WPI, basically every class that you would be taking is the equivalent of a 3-credit course at another institution. However, at WPI, we have referred to them as 1/3 of a unit for over 40 years now, and I think we will continue to do so. So just rest assured that the course is the equivalent of a 3-credit course at another institution.
Awesome. Thank you, Sue. So as the questions keep piling up, the first one here is about prerequisites for courses. So this particular one is about, are there any prerequisites for the Intro to Robotics course?
Right. So WPI is an interesting institution, again, in that respect. None of our courses have official prerequisites. However, we do have what we call recommended backgrounds. The robotics course in particular is actually one where you can kind of step into it at a pretty entry level. So there will be a little bit of programming and there's a little bit of mechanical aspects to the program. So a little bit of physics, as well as a little bit of electrical engineering, maybe even some soldering required, all of which, though, would be considered at an entry level. So most high school students would be able to take that course without significant particular backgrounds. So for the other courses, you'll see that there are recommended backgrounds, and I see a lot of questions related to the calculus courses. And one of the things that I will mention is WPI typically does a placement test for calculus. We do not do that in the summer, but what I can share with you is if you've taken pre-calc in high school, then a recommendation would be to start at the Calculus 1 class. Probably if you've taken AB Calc in high school, that you might want to start at the Calculus 2 class. And if you've taken BC Calc, many students will start at Calculus 3, which is offered. We didn't recommend it for Frontiers in particular because not that many of our participants have taken Calculus 3, have taken BC Calc already in high school. So, so in terms of the calculuses, it is kind of your choice depending on what you've done already in high school. And what you can do is you can certainly drop back. So if you start in a 1 level and after a day or two you decide that's much too difficult, you could drop back to a lower level of calculus. But we do recommend that you try to challenge yourself with the level that fits what you've already done for a background.
Awesome. And so moving forward here, I see some questions about what the ratio of high school to WPI students are for certain courses.
That's a good question. So because they are asynchronous courses, it's kind of difficult to say what that ratio will be in terms of your interactions on a regular basis. I will say that you will be interacting with the Frontiers for Credit, so the high school students, pretty regularly. I would guess, and this is completely a guess because I haven't done that analysis, the Frontier students are a smaller portion of the class, although a lot of the entry-level classes, that's where you're going to see more. So it could probably range anywhere from, 10 to 20% in some to 50% in others.
Awesome. And so I have another question here. So how many, I think this question is referring to number of students per course. So how many students typically get into each course? And if there is a second wind of open spots, how is that usually communicated out?
Yeah, that's a good question. That is varies significantly from course to course. So there are some courses where the limit is as low as 15. There are other courses where the limits are much higher. In the courses where there's a higher number of students, there's more peer learning assistants or teaching assistants to help out with the course. The beauty of the asynchronous course is that, many students can access the content or the curriculum. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of that, Andreas? If there's other courses opening up. We don't really anticipate at this point that there will be additional courses. Could happen occasionally, but pretty much most of the faculty have now decided what their summer is going to look like. And so we've opened up what we think we're going to open up. So I don't anticipate. However, if something did become available, we'd certainly be happy to send it out to this list.
And all of that information is also live on our website as well under course information. So if for any point in time a course is at capacity, we will make sure to label that in our suggested course offerings for folks to know. As well as if for some reason a second section opens up, we will also make sure to add it to that website. So just want to revert back to the website just in case if you experiencing any difficulties there. Will there be any opportunity? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm seeing some courses, some questions, a couple of questions related to course taking. I'm just going to try to answer them all at once. So each E1 courses are no longer available to register for. They started yesterday, actually. And also the Frontiers for Credit wraparound services are not available for E1. So those are two reasons not to register for a course for E1. And then the other question that I see kind of a couple of times in here is related to choosing courses from the list that we recommend. You do not have to choose a course from the list. However, you do have to choose a course for E2 if you want the Frontiers wraparound services. And the only caution that I would have if you don't choose from our list is to make sure that you are looking very closely at the recommended backgrounds. And if you have any questions about those recommended backgrounds, there may be times when you register for a course that we will actually reach out to you and make sure that you have the appropriate recommended background because we want everybody to be successful in the course.
Awesome. And just continuing further down into these questions, do you have to attend the tutoring sessions? And then there's also a secondary question in there about the late night activities or the evening activities. Are those something that are potentially optional? So feel free to.
Sure. So all of the wraparound services are potentially optional. We think it's a great way to have a lot of fun and to get to know a lot of new students. The intention is not that you attend every tutoring session. Obviously, that's going to be based on what you feel like your need is. However, if you feel that you need to attend every tutoring session, you could do that. So that is very flexible. And the homework hangouts will be by course. So that's a nice opportunity to work together with other students to get homework done. In terms of the evening activities, again, completely optional. So those are things that we just want to do to help you build community. If you were here at WPI, you would be getting to know students more closely through on evening activities and other programming. And so we want to give you that option to socialize and to get to know some other folks and really get a sense of WPI as a community. But obviously all of that is certainly optional.
Awesome. Thank you, Sue. And another question here about class time or lecture time with faculty. Is it in real time or will it be recorded?
So all of the coursework will be recorded. So there will be recordings for everything, and they are asynchronous courses for the most part. However, there are some courses where there is an intention. I believe the robotics course may be one of those where they are going to try to offer some live content as well. We are not privy to that, I would say, until the faculty actually have designed the course, have set up the course for this term. So there is a possibility that some of the courses may have a little bit of synchronous content, but the majority will be asynchronous. And I believe in cases where they are having synchronous content, they would also be recording that.
Awesome, thank you. And I think that goes a little bit into this next question. This question was about a syllabus for a class. Is there any way to view the syllabus for each course prior to signing up?
There isn't an opportunity to do that because what is happening, and actually one of the probably positive effects of this situation that we're in the world right now, is that the faculty are redeveloping ways to teach online that are better and more innovative each time they teach. So they are taking some time to redesign and redevelop the courses as they go along. So they've taught some of these courses in our last term here on campus, and now they're changing a few things up and getting those ready to go. However, if you do have questions about a specific course, we are very happy to take an email and reach out to the faculty and try to get you some more specifics. The email that you can email is pop@wpi.edu, and we'll put that up at the end of the presentation, or maybe Andreas can switch right to the next slide now so that you can see that. And if you have, so just let us know if you have specific questions, and we will be happy to get those answers for you.
Awesome. And so one of the questions here was from a participant that their fall schedule has been pushed a little bit due to the current public health concerns, and Frontiers for Credit overlaps with one of the weeks they're supposed to be returning for their fall high school experience. Are we looking to offer any accommodations for those students that might have an overlap in returning to school early?
So I will say that this is already an abbreviated course schedule for us. So typically we run courses in 7 weeks, and we are running it in 5 weeks. So with the abbreviated course schedule, we're not going to be able to shorten the course any further than the 5 weeks. But what I will say is, because it is asynchronous, there may be some possibility to do the coursework outside of your regular schoolwork, you know, in that last week, or take tests. Usually the faculty are pretty flexible, so perhaps if there's a time that overlaps with your regular school when a test is happening in that last week, that could be arranged. And again, that's a situation where if you want to shoot us an email separately and let us know which class you're interested in, we could certainly reach out to the faculty for you and get some more information. I know there were also a few questions related to financial aid, so I'm going to just jump into those. What I will say is there is not financial aid available for the Frontiers course this year. We have the course discounted pretty significantly, about 50% of what we would normally charge. And that's just for the undergraduate course, and then we're not charging for the wraparound services. So unfortunately, we're not able to offer it at any less than what we are currently offering it for.
Awesome, thank you. So just scrolling through here, some of these are a little bit course specific. So is there any chance you can get to specifics for the biotech course, is there any information that, any additional information that you could share with folks regarding the Intro to Biotechnology course too?
It is a basic biology course. That's what I can tell you. What I will say is the course description is there, right? So you have that
Mhm.
available. And then what is interesting and what we'll find out together is obviously typically in a biology course you might have some labs, so they're going to be doing some virtual labs and simulations there. But beyond that, I don't have specifics. If there are specific questions you have, I'm again happy to reach out to the faculty and get that information for you. But it is a
Awesome.
your basic 101 biology course. Somebody had also asked about the physics course and whether you need calculus. The physics course that we're recommending is the physics that does not require calculus. So that is one that you can take without having had calculus.
And I have a couple questions here, Sue. Thanks so much for sharing that. I have a couple questions here about taking two courses simultaneously throughout Frontiers for Credit. So can you share a little bit about maybe not just taking one course, but two, and our thoughts on that?
Sure, absolutely. So WPI students typically take 3 courses in 7 weeks, which is a pretty heavy load, and they're here on campus and they're focusing only on those courses. So what we recommend for high school students as a first intro to college life and college courses, and this being a somewhat abbreviated term for us with the 5 weeks, we are recommending that you only take one course. We won't prohibit you from taking 2 courses, but it is our strong recommendation that you only take one course, that you focus on that course, and then that you take the time to take advantage of the other wraparound services that are available during Frontiers. Usually for every course that you take, there is the coursework, the time you're spent doing the lectures and any kind of group work that you have. And there's an assumption that you're doing about 15 hours of homework outside of class. So you need to think about that. When you're taking multiple courses, you've got to multiply that by 15 each time, right? So it is summer and we don't want you spending all your time just sitting in the house doing academics. So, so our recommendation is one course in the summer.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And then I see we have a question here a little bit about the grading structure in place. So could you share a little bit more details around that?
So I see that folks are asking about the NR option and what date we have to let WPI know if we want that option. I'm not sure that that date for E2 has been published yet, so we would keep you informed of that as you go along. Currently, we have basically 2 grading structures in place. You can go with an A, B, C, and R grading structure, which allows you to have a letter grade for your course and an equivalent GPA number. Or you can choose the pass-fail system, which basically gives you a passing grade for the course, but there is no letter grade associated with it. And that is a concession that we're making for online courses for students, because this is a new world both for the faculty and for the students as well. That will not be a traditional WPI grading system when we're back to normal on campus, but for this summer that would be the case. So there is there's very little danger to you in terms of having a bad transcript that sits at WPI for a long time because of the grading options that we have available. In addition, you also have the option, although you've already paid for the course, you would have the option to withdraw from the course if you feel like it's not going in the direction that you wanted to and you just don't want to have a transcript for it at all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sue, for sharing on that. Can you talk a little bit about how course materials are acquired for each course? And I have a couple questions here specific to computer software required for courses. So maybe share a little bit about how that will be communicated out to students.
Sure, excellent. So what we have at WPI is what we call it's kind of like a Blackboard site. So if you have used some type of Google platform with your teachers in your classes now, we have a platform called Canvas, and each course will have a Canvas site. And on that site, you will have all your course materials available to you, your syllabus, your homeworks, things like that, your lecture captures. You'll also have probably discussion platforms, depending on the course that it is, opportunities to turn in homework, to find out when exams are. So all of your information would be on your Canvas site for your course, which is great. Everything's right there in one place. And one of the nice things that we're going to do is actually all your other Frontiers for Credit information will also be on a Canvas site. So you'll also be able to log into Canvas and access that information. As a Frontiers for Credit student, you will have a WPI email address, so you'll be accessing our WPI system, and that's the way that you're going to get any software that you need for your courses. So we have student licenses available for the software. So for the Intro to CAD, for example, I know they're using SolidWorks as a platform for that class. I did see something about that in there. The majority of these softwares that you're running will not need a special computer. You should be able to run them on, you know, any, I would say, relatively new computer. I mean, if your computer is 10 or 15 years old, then all bets are off. But, you know, if you have a computer that's a few years old, it should not have a problem running the majority of these softwares.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that, Sue. Can you share a little bit also about how virtual labs will work with robotics in particular?
So robotics is one of the courses where we are going to ask participants to purchase a robotics kit. So it will be more hands-on and less virtual than some of the other things. So you would have a kit, and that is part of the reason that they're thinking about doing a synchronous element to the course, where you would have some build time where you're all together as a group and building. But you will be building and programming on an actual robot. That will not be virtual. And the kit, the anticipation for the kit, I believe, is the cost would be somewhere just under $200 is what they're thinking about right now. They have not decided which kit to use. They're looking at a couple of different platforms that they feel might be the best options for the students.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. And then I see another question in here in the chat about the process to register and the deadline for registering.
So the process to register is quite simple. You simply have to go to the registration form, which Andreas can throw a link to that into the chat, if you would, Andreas, and sign up for the course that you're interested in. Once that happens, you will hear from us about the Frontiers for Credit information, and you'll be automatically in Frontiers for Credit as well. So very straightforward. The deadline to register is June 15th, and that's so that we can get all of your herds established. The herds are the groups that we're going to put you into with student staff. So we really want you to get an opportunity to interact with undergraduates while you're here. And so we want to get everybody registered by June 15th to make sure that we have enough students to support all of you, both in the social activities as well as in the tutoring and the homework hangouts.
All right, everyone, I'm adding the link to register in the chat below.
While you're doing that, Andreas, I see a question about the day in the life schedule for the full 5 weeks. It says, if the course lessons are asynchronous, then can the work be done in their own time? Yes, absolutely. So the day in the life, the courses can be done asynchronously. You know, they'll be recorded, and you can do the homework and the lectures on your own time, so that's not a problem at all. And then certainly what we are trying to do is kind of make sure that the tutoring sessions and the homework hangouts are happening at all different times during the day, so that if you do have athletics or you have a summer job that you're working at, that you'll still have time to jump into some of those sessions that are convenient with your schedule.
Awesome, thank you. And then I see I have another question here. So the fees associated or shared are associated with all courses. So there's one fee for all courses. There's no additional or different fees associated with each course.
Right. There's there'll be some courses will require a book, and as I mentioned, robotics will require a robotics kit. So there is a little bit of additional cost associated with that. So I just want to clarify, we have a lot of math questions. So I'm going to clarify one more time with math. If you have not taken pre-calc yet, we do not recommend that you start in any of the calculus courses. You really do need a pre-calc background in order to take a calculus course. If you're interested in a math course and you haven't taken pre-calc, we would recommend taking a look at matrices and linear algebra. Matrices and linear algebra is a course that a lot of students require here at WPI, and it only requires an Algebra 2 background for students. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we don't recommend taking Calc 1 and Calc 2 at the same time. They are progressive courses, so you need to finish Calc 1 before you start Calc 2. But if you have completed an AP Calculus course, you may be ready for something more advanced than Calculus 1. So lots of math questions, which is great. The math faculty are excited to have you all. Just want to make sure that everybody's jumping in at the level that is appropriate for them.
Thank you, Sue. Thanks for reiterating that. So I have another question here about folks that were accepted to our Old Frontiers program that was supposed to happen in person. Do they have to register again? And can you share a little bit about what that process looks like for them?
You do not have to, I'm sorry. If you've already applied for the regular Frontiers program, then we have actually canceled your registration for that and refunded any money that you may have paid to us. There is no application associated with the e-term courses, so actually it's easier to apply to Frontiers for Credit. You simply fill out the registration form, so there's no additional steps required. If you are interested in coming to Frontiers next year and you already have all your application materials in for us, then we are going to hold on to those materials and we're going to send you a note come December of this year to say, do you want us to either, if we haven't taken a look at your application, take a look at your application again, or if we have taken a look at your application, then we're going to just ask you if you're still interested and if you want to come. And that is obviously applicable to the students who are rising juniors this year. The rising seniors, will be hoping that you're applying to WPI next year.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And I see a question in here about exams. Will exams be live for all the courses?
That's, again, dependent on the faculty. There is a system in place called Honor Lock, which allows students to take an exam basically live. You are being monitored while you're taking the exam. So that is one possibility, but the other possibility is that the faculty may do something like a take-home exam that you might be familiar with from high school, where you're just doing the exam on your own and you have access to open book and things like that. Again, very dependent on the individual faculty member. Some faculty may have a group project as a final to the course. You know, it really varies from faculty to faculty. So that's why we like this, because it's a really true college experience, right? You're really going to get the variety of the different faculty and their different teaching styles.
Awesome. And so I see a question in here about WPI admissions, more specifically about the interviews. So could you talk a little bit more about the option of doing a virtual interview with our admissions counselors?
Sure, absolutely. So what we're going to have for options, we do this at the regular Frontiers course when it's in person. Admissions at WPI does not require an interview for part of the admissions process. However, we do love to give you that option if you're interested. So it's a great opportunity for you to share a little bit more about yourself and also to ask any questions one-on-one that you have about WPI or about, the way things work, different majors, those types of things. If you choose to do a virtual interview with us, you'll be interviewing with our admissions counselors, and that interview will go into your official WPI file. And then when you apply to WPI, those notes will be there and available to the admissions counselor when they're reviewing your application. So it's just a really nice way to get some more personal information and data into your application file.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And there's a couple more questions here. One question is about tutoring service and whether that happens on sort of a one-to-one basis virtually.
I think it's going to depend on the need of the students. So we will start with group tutoring sessions. And then if students are looking for more help or more assistance, then we will organize our student staff on our end to try to help out on a one-on-one basis as necessary. At WPI, we have something called the Math and Science Help Center, and that's kind of how we're designing our tutoring sessions as well. So it'll be kind of a drop-in to see what you need help on, but certainly, if it's something that requires more one-on-one, then we will be able to provide that as well. I did see some questions related to differing abilities and different services, IEP services, things like that, extended time. One of the things that we are going to be able to offer you all is access to our Office of Disability Services, and any questions that you might have related to extended time on exams and things like that can be directed right to the Office of Disability Services, and they will explain to you how that process works at WPI. So we can definitely put you in touch with them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so I see a question here about computer science in particular. What courses would you recommend for someone looking to major in CS?
So, that I don't think there's I honestly, I do not have the whole list of courses right in front of me right this moment. What I would say is everything that we've put on the course list are basic courses that the majority of WPI first year students would take. So for example, most students will take a calculus series of Calc 1 through 4, matrices and linear algebra, and differential equations, right? So, so obviously math is always a great course to take. All of the general sciences, you are going to have some general science things, requirements that you need to fulfill. So thinking about some of those as a possibility, maybe physics would be a great option. I think it's going to depend, unfortunately we can't offer the breadth of offerings that we can during the academic year. But what we've offered is, pretty much a good basis for starting your career at WPI.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Sue. There's a couple more questions in here. And so this next one is about a rising junior, asking whether or not should they take this program, our Frontiers for Credit online experience this year, or should they wait till next year?
So I think that is completely up to you and the type of experience that you want to have. I can't make that choice for you. There'll be two different experiences, right? So the Frontiers for Credit experience is a WPI undergraduate course where you are getting college credit. If you do the Frontiers course on campus, you don't get the college credit. It's a little bit shorter, so that's sometimes more convenient for folks. It's meant much more to be an exploratory course versus just one content-based course. So, for example, if you're taking electrical engineering, you'll get a overview exploration of electrical engineering and not just one topic area in electrical engineering. So it's really a personal choice. I mean, you have the option to do both. So you certainly can take a course this summer and still attend Frontiers in person next summer. Both are available to you. We have many students who attend Frontiers 2 years in a row. So certainly both options available. And we do think that we will probably continue this Frontiers for Credit option in next summer as well. So next summer, if all goes well and we are COVID free or at least have a vaccine, then what we'll anticipate is that we will have both the Frontiers in-person version as well as the Frontiers for Credit. Along that line, I know that some folks were asking questions about WPI going test optional, and I think Nicole has answered it, but I want to make sure that everyone has seen it. WPI is a test optional and has been for actually about 7 years now. So we are one of the first technical schools to be test optional. We feel very strongly that standardized testing does not indicate how a student will perform in college, and certainly not at WPI. So we have been test optional for about 7 years and will continue to be so.
Awesome.
Okay, so here's the question about if you take a Frontiers class, do you skip that class in high school? Since this is our first year offering Frontiers for Credit in this format, I can't give you specific advice on that. My recommendation would be to talk to a guidance counselor. But if you're taking calculus at a college level, and that's a calculus course that will likely count, then I would assume that there wouldn't be a need to take that particular course in high school. So, but that's definitely a conversation you want to have with your high school guidance counselor. But a lot of students who do dual enrollment don't do that, basically don't end up taking that same class in high school.
Perfect, Sue. Thanks so much.
We're getting time, so why don't we grab a couple more questions, Andreas?
Yeah, we have a couple more. So one question here is, do you still get college credit for a course if you choose to take it as a pass or fail? So could you reiterate some of the information shared previously on that one?
Sure, absolutely. So the answer to that, the short answer is yes, you will get credit for it. And what you would get is a transcript from WPI with simply a P grade on it, right? So a passing grade. There wouldn't be a GPA. And then it would be up to, now, if you came to WPI as an undergraduate, then we would recognize that as a course and we would count that as a course just like it is. And if you are trying to transfer it to another institution, then it would be up to that institution to decide could they accept that passing grade. We are doing that because most institutions would accept it, but definitely we cannot guarantee that in any case, just like we cannot guarantee transfer of any credit from WPI. And similarly, if you're coming from another institution to WPI, we would review all of your credits to see which ones would transfer. That's pretty typical within the higher ed in general.
And so we have a final one for today. And for folks, if we weren't able to get to your question, like Sue mentioned, please send us a quick email at pop@wpi.edu or feel free to give us a call. Our last question here is, will there be any opportunities for an in-person campus visit?
Oh, we hope so. We unfortunately do not know the answer to that yet. So we have a COVID emergency response team that has been working very diligently since all of this began. And they are really looking at all of the possibilities available to us. And so we have reviewed many, many different scenarios, and we are paying attention to our state and federal government guidelines in terms of, you know, what has been recommended in the different phases, and depending on what phase the state of Massachusetts is in at what time, then we may or may not be able to open for visitors. My guess is when we're able to open, it will start small, so it will probably be limited visits, but we are definitely working on that. And we, you know, you can imagine, we on campus, we work in enrollment management. It's our business to visit with families and to have them come to campus and see our beautiful campus. So we would be really excited to welcome you, and we would let you all know. One thing I will say is to ensure that you get that kind of information from us, we have a link in the chat, and we can probably put it up again more current in the chat. There's a information form that you can fill out with to get additional information from us. And if you fill out that information form, we'll be sure to let you know as soon as we are open for business in person again.
Awesome, Sue. Thanks so much for taking the time to answer the questions. And thank you all for asking those questions. They're wonderful questions, and we were happy to get to them. We would like to put a little social media plug in here. So for those of you that are on the social platforms that we are on, you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram at WPI Pop, POP. And we are happy to connect with you on those platforms. We regularly update those platforms with updates related to our programs in our office. This webinar was recorded, so I will be following up with an email to you all with access to that webinar link and how to view this later on at a later date if you're interested in doing so. And like mentioned previously, all the information shared in this webinar is also on our website, and you can access our website at wpi.edu/plusfrontiers. Like Sue mentioned, I have that link in the chat that she was talking about staying connected with WPI. We thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to connect with us virtually. We always look forward to.
Especially those of you who got up early or went to bed late in order to be with us today. So
I know some folks have been joining us. It's midnight in their time zone. So thank you so much for taking the time to connect with us. We hope you had fun. We thoroughly enjoyed getting the chance to chat with you today. If you have any additional questions, or feel free to reach us at pop@wpi.edu. So thank you so very much. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day and enjoy the weather that's out there. And we hope to hear from you all soon.
Great. Thanks so much, everybody.